What's up, everybody? Tindo here, and I've got a rather boring day ahead of me. I've got a bunch of adulting to do. I've got to take the cat to the vet. I got to go to the grocery store, adult stuff. But I figured to liven it up a little bit, I might stop at some of the thrift stores and game stores around the areas, the parts of town that I'm going, and I might buy some video games. So check it out. Well, on my way to the other side of town, I decided to stop at one of my regular haunts, which is the Goodwill Bins here in Phoenix. And I didn't spend as much time there as I normally would. I think this time I pretty much just made one giant lap around the whole place, picked up anything I saw that I thought I needed, and then I got out of there. I normally focus pretty straightforward on the gaming stuff that I buy from here, but for this video, I'm just going to kind of leave a whole clip up of me walking around the store just so you can see some of the other nonsense that you can buy here. It's really cool because, yes, I do buy mostly gaming stuff here, but I do a lot of building projects, a lot of random goofy stuff just to entertain myself. And to keep those costs down, I buy most of my building materials here. You would not believe how much sandpaper I have and how little I've paid for it. I have hundreds of sheets of every grit known to man, and I didn't pay anything for it hardly at all because I bought it here. I don't know why, but sandpaper shows up in these bins all the time, daily. I rarely leave without a stack of sandpaper. It's pretty cool. And the same goes for drill bits and other little things like that normally you'd spend big bucks on at the store. I find that stuff here. I have a pretty well kitted out workshop that I didn't really pay much of anything for. Even my drill presses, my bandsaw, it's all stuff that I found here. I took up to the cash register and I said, "Hey guys, how much for this?" They'd be like, "Oh, $10, you can have it." So it's pretty great for things like that. If you are really into making, if you're heavy into the making community and you want a cheap way to build your tool set, I highly recommend the thrift, and even more so, I highly recommend a Goodwill Bins for that kind of thing. But here's my first find of the day, a Wii. And why it has this Velcro on it, I don't know. Did somebody Velcro their Wii to their wall? Super weird. But I kept digging, and then I ended up finding a Wii sensor bar and some other gaming cables just wound up in here in this nonsense. And that's how you're going to find any cable at a Goodwill Bins, just tangled around with everything else. There was a Wii board not far from that. I kept digging. I guess someone threw their whole Wii collection out, so I found a copy of Wii Fit near it. I don't need another copy, but I usually just grab these because they show up daily, and it's good to have a few spare Wii cases. And then I found a PlayStation AV cable, and I could never get quite enough of those, so I grab any one that I can find. Kept digging here. This is just a random bin called a Gaylord where they just pile stuff up, and look here. Yellow Power Ranger. And this is kind of one of the harder sets of these to find because they have a really hard head. I've got almost the whole set that doesn't have a hard head. None of those, so I was happy to find it. And then I always like finding Disney Infinity characters. There's a little Nick Fury I didn't already have, and like I said, we didn't spend very much time here, so we're checking out. Got a bag full of goodies, clothes for Hannah. She found some shipping envelopes, which is always good because paper stuff like that, they pretty much will let you have for free without paying for it at the Goodwill Bins. So very happy about that. Then we moved on to Bookman's. I had some leftover trade credit from a previous trade-in video that I did, about $50. So since we were on this side of town, we decided to go ahead and stop here and spend the rest of it because it's really hard to get all the way over to the west end where this Bookman's is. We have one pretty close to our house, but this one is a really good one, and they have good stuff, so we like to get to it whenever we can. So we rolled in here today hoping to find a copy of Luigi's Mansion because we really want to play it before the new Luigi's Mansion comes out, but we did not end up finding a copy. But I do like this Bookman's because it kind of reminds me of a music store that I worked in when I was younger. There's just stuff everywhere. The boss I worked for at that music store was very adamant that a messy store was okay. Kind of weird, I know, kind of almost counterintuitive, but he believed that if people had to dig through stuff, they were more likely to find something that they wanted to buy. And not that I'm saying that this store is messy. It's just they have so much stuff. You've got to dig for anything you want. And, I do kind of like that. I'm a junk rat at heart. But as you can see, there's just a lot of everything. There's all the Sega Genesis games. Here's all of those Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games, and then, of course, the Game Gear games. And it's getting to the point where neither of the Bookmans in town have any Game Gear games that I don't already have. So I check those every time I go, and if there was anything in there at all that I didn't have, I'd go ahead and buy it. And then I'm also here looking for some games that it just came to my attention that they existed, and I'm going to see if they don't have any of them here. And if you watched my previous video, you might know what that is. I'm not going to say it here. You're just going to have to wait a minute. Watch the whole video. And here's some Dynasty Warrior games. There's so many of these. I say this all the time in my videos. I've always got to get my checklist out to figure out if I do or don't have the ones that a store has. And if you're interested in checking out my checklist, there is a link to it below all of my videos. Just go give that a click. You can see what's in my collection. You can kind of keep up with how fast it's growing. Then here's the lock boxes. I'm looking at the Wii U games. There is a complete in-box copy of the original Super Mario Maker for the Wii U, and I don't like spending my credit on stuff like that a lot of the times, but this is a pretty tough one to find. It's tough to find it in that box, so I'm sitting here trying to decide exactly what I want to buy, because there's a bunch of stuff in these lock boxes that I want, and I can only get a couple of them, not all 10 of them. So I'm going to keep digging around the store, and I keep forgetting that I am now a PSP owner, because I recently just bought a PSP, so when I finally remembered that, I thought, well, maybe I'll go check the PSP games. And of course, there was a Dynasty Warriors PSP game, so I grabbed it. And then looking here at the PlayStation 1 games, there's a Digimon game in there, and I wanted it bad. But I'm sitting here just doing the math, trying to figure out exactly how many games I can buy with this last $50 of credit, because I'm not looking to spend any of my real money here today. I'm saving the real money for the cheap stuff at the thrift shops. And here's a coupon that I had that I picked up at a recent Game Expo. I was pretty happy to have that $2 off. We ended up stopping at a Goodwill not far from the house when we got closer to home after we did all our chores. And I predominantly went here because I need a new chair, in dire need of a new chair. And this is just a Goodwill that I know has a lot of furniture, so we came to check that out. Not looking too hot on the games here. I don't know why, but the last few times I've been to this Goodwill, the video games have just been mixed in with everything else. They're not put away in one section like most Goodwills are. So you kind of got to dig. I did just say how much I like digging through stuff, but I'm not sure that I like digging through DVDs to find video games. And then here's some indie film that they had 200 copies of. Kind of random. And then there were a handful of games here in blank cases, including a couple of copies of Grand Theft Auto, which was kind of funny. And then a copy of Fable 3. It was complete, so I decided to grab that. Now on to the rest of the store. Here is the very, very empty gaming section. There's a couple controllers. Those are Guitar Hero controllers for the DS, I think. And there was a dongle for the original Xbox for the memory cards. But on to what I'm here for, the furniture. I'm just hoping that they have some computer chairs here, because the last couple Goodwills that I've went to off camera, they've had nothing but super old chairs. And here's one, and I was quite surprised. It's a little rough around the edges. The arms on it are a little torn up, but that doesn't matter. All it has to do is support my weight. So I threw it on the ground and had a seat. And I'll have to tell you, after setting in the wobbly chair that I currently have, this is a winner. And crazy enough, it was only like $3, and I think that was just because the arm pads were torn up a little, which doesn't bother me any. So I think I'm going to get this one. And there's a random high heel just sitting there on the floor. I don't know why. And on to the toys. It's a little bit of a mess over here, and I'm not really looking to dig too hard, but sometimes I get lucky and there's a bag of Disney Infinity or a bag of Skylanders or, heaven forbid, a bag of Pokemon that I'll absolutely have to buy. That's where they bag up the toys and just charge completely random prices per bag. Over here is where they just throw the bigger stuff. If you're looking for lightsabers, this is where you go. Or if you're looking for apparently a Darth Vader helmet, this is quite nice, but I actually already have this exact one, so I didn't need it, but it's not bad. A few dollars for a nice Darth Vader helmet. And then I checked the lockbox right before I left, and there was a PSP game, a Michael Jackson PSP game. I have that on, I think, Connect for 360. And then there was an Xbox 360 Slim in there, and it had a note on it that said, on hold. And I asked the lady, does that say on hold? And she said, yes, but it's for sale. They didn't come back for it. And I was like, oh, great. Can I see how much is on it? And it turned out to be like 70 or 80 bucks. So I didn't even have her take it out of the cabinet, not paying that much for it. And then we went to Savers because right before we were about to go home, we realized that it was half off day at Savers. We didn't think it was the best idea to go because despite it being half off day and one of the biggest sales day they have, it was also getting really late, and we just didn't think that it would be worth going because usually these stores get really shopped over by the end of their sales days. But we were not really ready to go home, so we decided to go ahead and go to them. And I also am in pretty dire need of a stand for my very, very heavy CRT. It's very heavy. I can barely pick it up, and I don't have anything proper to sit it on. So Savers is a pretty good place to go to look at furniture. So we went and checked that out. Didn't end up finding one, but they're also a very good place to go buy cheap video games. And as soon as I got inside of the store, there's this box of Legos, and then right up there in the top left-hand corner is a big stack of games. And I really wanted to get a look at them, but there were not a lot of staff still at the store at this point because, like I said, it was getting late. It was winding down. So I went ahead and went and checked out the rest of the store. And then on to the video games. I really didn't have any high hopes of there being much over here because it just would have to have been picked over by now. But there was this Connect SpongeBob game. I didn't know that existed, and I was pretty excited about it. But it was missing its manual, and none of these Connect games are hard to find, so I'll just pass on it and wait till I find the one with the manual. And then an American Chopper game, LOLs. I ended up taking that one. And then there's pretty much nothing else here. And then on to the back of the store where the electronics are. I don't often buy a ton of electronics from this Savers, but it seems like when I do, I really strike gold. I've bought an N64 here. I've bought some Xbox 360s. They're usually pretty cheap when they do show up. And then there was this Atari Flashback, which this just blows my mind. Apparently there's like 12 different ones. I don't know. I thought there was an Atari Flashback. And then I saw the numbers on a couple boxes once, and it was like 4, and then the other one was 9. So I'm not trying to collect all of those. But that one had to have been one of the older ones, because it looked old and it was in pretty rough shape, but it didn't have any of its controllers or other peripherals with it, so definitely passed up on that. And this looks like it's going to be one of those days where there's not much there. There's a bunch of junk, really, nothing that I'm terribly interested in. And then finally, I made my way back up to the lockbox and had one of the employees let me look at the games that were on that shelf that I saw when I first walked in, and I was blown away. These were all great games. Not only were they great, but they were cheap. They were all marked $4, which means here on half off day, they're $2. And I bought most of them, and I was very happy about it. There ended up being a few Wii games and a GameCube game, which I'm always happy to see. There it is right there. 2-disc GameCube game. Very happy to find that. This is one I didn't buy, Modern Warfare 2. I've got like 6 copies of that. I love going to the thrift stores when it's getting close to Halloween time because thrift stores have the best Halloween costume stuff. And case in point, here's this rather amazing Halo helmet. I mean, it was beautiful. It was one solid piece, very well cast, very well painted. But it was $80. I don't know how or why or what the deal is, but Savers has some sort of deal with some company, and they sell brand new licensed costume stuff. It was kind of cool. I mean, I'm not going to spend that much on that Halo helmet, but I would love to have one sitting on my shelf. Maybe I'll have to check back and see if they mark any of that stuff down right after Halloween's over. And then I went over to the toys section. I don't know what I'm expecting to find. You never know what's going to turn up in these bags of toys, but you also really have to dig through them pretty heavy to find anything that you might want. And even when you do find something that you might want, it's one toy mixed in with a bag of 20 others you don't, and then you really have to decide whether or not you're going to pay for that. But these Savers are pretty cool. They often have lots of Nerf guns, and I haven't actually bought any Nerf guns, I think, on my YouTube channel yet, and that's pretty much because I have a couple of, like, all of them. This Savers ended up having a bunch of comic books in here, and strangely enough, they were like comic books I already had, like that Batman that you saw, just random stuff. But I'm also not really looking for comic books. I came over here to look for some gaming magazines. There's a Wizard magazine. I've come across some Wizard magazines before in my videos, and I just always get tempted to buy them, but I don't have space for another magazine collection. But I really liked Wizard magazines as a kid. We went to another Savers before it was all said and done, and this one's a good one. This one usually has a pretty good selection of games, and just as I suspected, I walked in and there was not one but 2 Xboxes sitting there. The one on the bottom is an Xbox 360S. There was also a box of Atari games over there, but it was marked $100 for a box full of $1 games. It was kind of crazy. And then I opened up the Modern Warfare box that was sitting on the shelf that said it was an Xbox 360, and it was an original Xbox. So I thought, well, maybe this 360 is that Modern Warfare one. And of course, it was not. It was a completely different Xbox 360S. So it was just a bunch of mix-up. But both of the prices were pretty high, so I passed on those. And I just had to check in this box to see why it was so expensive. And there was no reason for it. I think someone just saw vintage video games and thought, we can fetch a good price for this. But it wasn't worth it. So I moved on to the regular video games. And it didn't start out too well. There was a bunch of nonsense in here. Lots of sports games, lots of Xbox Connect games, a few original Xbox games, but the original Xbox games that were there were in pretty rough condition. This one was missing its disc. Rip that one. More sports games, more Connect games, and then there ended up being a copy of this wrestling game. I ended up buying that because it was all there. Those can be a little bit difficult to find because, people still really like the wrestling. The last stop of the day on the way back home was at Zia Records. I love going here because they've got a little bit of everything. And the first thing that I saw when I walked in there was a fresh batch of Wiimotes, and I grabbed this one right here, and it was one of those Wii U era emotes that has the characters printed on the front. And those are usually pretty expensive. This one's got a $9.99 sticker on it. I was super excited to see that, and I bought it immediately. Kept digging around the store. This place always has a box of Skylanders that are like, it's a grab bag. You can pay $6 and get as many as you can fit in that. I'm sorry, $5. I was wrong. $5 for a bag. You can buy as many as you can fit in that bag. But I had every single one of the ones that was in the box, so no need to mess with that today. Checking their lock boxes here, it's always worth looking because they always have a really nice selection of sealed Game Boy games. And I don't know how they get them, but every time I'm here, there's a sealed Game Boy game in there. They're usually really expensive, which is warranted, but I like looking at them. And then this Nintendo 64 drawer. I ended up spending a lot of time at this store, way more than I planned on, just because I couldn't decide whether or not to buy that because it only had $15 on it. And the last time I saw one and really wanted it, it was like $60. So I had to walk a few laps around the store to decide if I was going to buy it or not. And then moving on, there was a random chest full of toys that were also a grab bag buy, and there was some Pez in here. And if you've watched my channel at all lately, apparently I'm a Pez collector now because at the thrift I found a giant box of Pez dispensers, and I just had to bring them home. There's a whole video of us digging through that box of Pez. If you're at all interested in that kind of thing, check below. There's a link. Definitely go watch that. It's a heckin' good time. Look at all this. Here's another box. Somebody donated their entire Pez collection. And then I actually had to remember to go check the bottom dollar bins, which is a little weird. But I checked those right before I left the store just to see if there's anything new in here, and there wasn't. I frequent this store quite a bit, so I usually know about as soon as I start digging whether or not they've shoved any new stuff in here. But it doesn't hurt to look, so I gave it a quick once-over, but I didn't end up leaving with anything from it. And then I also remembered right before I left that I now own a Dreamcast. Very recently purchased, so I was looking to see if there was anything that was both cheap and looked good to play. Not looking to spend any big bucks here, but there didn't end up being anything that looked terribly interesting. The most interesting thing was a BMX game. Also very interestingly, this Zia is currently selling Nerf guns, and as I mentioned earlier, I've got a rather large selection of Nerf guns, and I've often toyed with taking them to a place like this to see if they would take them for trade-in. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Most of the ones they had on the shelves here were crap. Not only were they crap, that big one up top is pretty cool, but not only were they crap, but all the kids that were here were just like going crazy over, Dad, can we get a Nerf gun? So I don't know, maybe I need to take some of my better ones and see if they'll give me some money for them. But Zia is also kind of the store in town that doesn't give the best for trade, which I'm not complaining because they don't pay much for it. They also don't sell it for so much. So that's why I'm able to get this $30 Wiimote for $10. So probably not going to take my Nerf guns there, but it's awful tempting when I see them hanging on the wall. So here's what I left with, that Wiimote and that drawer. Just had to have it. Just absolutely had to have it. And then just real quick, before we go back to the game room, I want to show you how funny my cat was acting after I brought him back from the vet. Look at him. I came home, and here he was. He's just a weirdo. All right, everybody, we are back in the game room, and I got a brand new chair. I had to get one because your boy weighs about 365 pounds. I'm about 6'6". Chairs just aren't built to hold this much weight, so I tear them up quite regularly. But the one that I got now, it is used, but it feels quite sturdy. I can lean back in it, and I feel pretty safe in it. But that's not all I bought. I bought a lot of game stuff, so let's run through the random stuff first before we get to the video games. First thing, this yellow Power Ranger. This is one of the plushy ones with a hard head. I don't have any of these yet. I've got a rather large and growing collection of Power Ranger stuff. You can kind of see a bit of it right here behind me. I really, really want this whole set, and I thought I was going to be halfway there when I found this, because I found this one in a bin. And then as I was continuing to look around the store, I saw two kids playing with two more of them, the red one and the blue one. And I was like, oh, well, if they're going to buy it and be happy with it, that's cool. But then I saw them toss them back into a bin, and I tried to run across the store to go get them. And just before I got there, another lady snatched them up, and she pretty much went straight to the cash register with them and bought them. So I've only got one of this set, but I do a lot of thrifting. If you watch my channel, you know that. I will probably find more of them as time goes on, but that's the first thing. The next thing, I was pretty happy to find this. Pretty happy anytime I find a Wii. It has a $15 sticker on it, but make no mistake, I bought this at a Goodwill Bins where you pay for things by weight, so this costs, a few bucks. I haven't checked to see if there's a game in there yet. Should have done that, but I haven't done it yet. There's 9 times out of 10, there's a copy of Wii Sports in there. But I found a couple dope games in Wii's at the Goodwills before. I found my copy of Super Smash Brawl in a Wii at the Goodwill Bins. I was very happy about that. Next thing, just a mess of wires. There's a pair of headphones in there. That's what these pink things are, headphones. That's a Wii sensor bar. And then a PS2 cable, which I was very happy to find because one of my last videos was a trade-in video, and I traded in a PS2. And I found out when I was putting it all together that that was my last PS2 AV cable. So glad to find another one. Happy with that. The next thing that I got was one Disney Infinity. That's Nick Fury. It's from the 2.0 set. It's actually one I didn't have, so very happy to get that. And then next, oh, I'm super happy about this one. The Toadstool Wiimote. I didn't know this one was blue on the back. The Mario one's blue on the back, and I've got it. It's the only two from this set that I have. It's from the Wii U era Wiimotes. Bunch of them with characters on it. And I want all of them really bad for my controller collection. But they're kind of expensive when you do come across them. One of the shops that I went to in this video, they have a Princess Peach one there, and it's like 30, 35 bucks. And I don't like spending that much for them. But I got lucky at Azia Records here in town. Got that for like 10 bucks. Very happy about that. All right, the last thing that I got that wasn't a video game was this bad boy. It's just a Nintendo 64 branded drawer for your N64 carts. Grab a few of them off the shelf, and they just go right in there. Oh, that's dope. They fit so perfect. That's pretty awesome. So there you go. And to make it extra awesome, I think it's a really nice platform just to set your N64 on top of. That's probably how I'll be displaying it right underneath my CRT. I'm very happy about that. I got it for 15 bucks, which was really cheap because the last time I saw one of these at a game store, it was $65, and they're pretty costly on eBay too. This one does have a little bit of cosmetic damage, some wood chips. I'm not mad about it because I'm actually going to use it. I'm actually going to display it. I'm not worried about selling it. I was very happy to find this because I've been having dreams about finding one of these since I saw the first one I ever saw at a game store for 60 bucks. Very happy about that. But that's all the non-game stuff. Let's jump into the video games. I've got some random stuff, I've got some good stuff, and I've got some great stuff. The first random stuff is my 6,000 copy of Wii Fit Plus. I found it laying next to an actual Wii Fit board, and I meant to just toss all this stuff out of the case and just buy the case because it's a Goodwill where you pay by weight. And this book is heavy. These Wii Fit books are ridiculous. So I Meant to just buy the case, but I bought the whole thing. Oh well. It was still just a quarter or something like that. Up next, Midnight Club 2, Greatest Hits Edition. Very happy about that. RTS for the PlayStation 2. Though this case is a little busted. A little torn up around the edges. I'll have to get a replacement case for that. Oh, this was nuts. We'll save that. We'll save that for in a minute. Chicken Shoot. Is this just some sort of spiritual sequel to Duck Hunt? I don't know, but I will have to find out. We have an ongoing series of videos on this channel playing bad video games, and I think that one's a prime candidate. It looks terrible. It looks terrible and terribly awesome. Billy the Wizard. That might also be on that list too of terrible looking games. Watch it just be amazing. Harry Potter ripoff for sure. Fable 3. I keep seeing this out and about, but it never has its manual for some reason, but that one did, so I bought it. This was Complete 2, SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. Greatest Hits. Very nice. And this was just funny. I only bought all these because they were like $1 or $2 each. American Chopper. This is my father's favorite TV show of all time. He tells me all about their drama. Their endlessly ongoing drama. But $2, Xbox game, not bad. This was probably one of the biggest surprises. It was half off day at Savers, which is their busiest day. There's always like 100 people in the store and it's nuts. And if you don't get there at the right time, you don't get good stuff. And I went at the end of the day, a couple hours from closing, and this was on the shelf. GoldenEye Rogue Agent for the GameCube. I just couldn't believe it. It's a double disc game. It was marked $3.99. It was marked $3.99, half off. I got it for $2. Couldn't believe it. That's all the video games from the regular store, but I had some store credit left over from my last trade-in video, so I went and got the good stuff. This is the good stuff. Let's start with Dynasty Warriors for the PSP. 5 or 6 videos ago, I bought my first PSP at a game expo, and I don't really have many PSP games at all, so this is one I will be laying in bed playing regularly. Very happy about that. Next up, Super Mario Maker, the OG for Wii U. I've actually been wanting to buy this for quite some time, but I keep finding it just like this, without the cardboard box and this beautiful booklet, which has, I guess it's really just supposed to be an inspiration for levels, for level building. But I kept finding it without this box, so I held off till I found one with the box. And it was the same price I always see it without the box. So $20 for that. That was a good use of my trade-in credit, I feel. And then last, and certainly not least, I'm so excited about this. I'm excited about this because my last trade-in video that I made, I saw a game I didn't know that existed that I really wanted to play. And that was a Dynasty Warriors game. It was not for the PSP. It was a PlayStation 2. It was Dynasty Warriors Gundam. But that copy, it was in pretty rough shape, and the book wasn't in the box, so I didn't get it. But on this trip to another store, I found Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2. Oh, I'm so excited about this, and it's in perfect shape. The book is in there. It even has its warranty card. Oh, this is... I said it in the last video. Dynasty Warriors is the best thing in the world. Gundam is the best thing in the world. You put them together. Dynasty Warriors Gundam. Are you kidding me? I will be playing this very soon. Very, very soon. But that's everything that I got, guys. I really feel like this is a great day, especially just thinking about this. I could have not bought any of this and been super happy with this game. I love it when I find one of those games that I know I'm going to play the crap out of. But guys, leave me a comment below and let me know what your favorite thing that I bought today was. Of course, after that, how can I say it was anything but Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2? But a pretty close second is this N64 box. I mean, I love this stuff. I wish I had one for every console to set each console on top of. Let me know in the comments below what maybe your least favorite thing that I bought was. Anything that was silly. I feel like we did really good today. There wasn't anything really stupid. I mean, this looks dumb. But don't just judge this. This might be the best game you never played. I know it's going to be terrible. But don't shooting games sound really fun when it comes to having a Wiimote? It might be all right. Just give it a chance, okay? But guys, please hit that like and subscribe button. And most importantly, hit that bell notification so that next time I post a video like this, you'll get a notification and you'll know that you can come hang out with me then. Until then, guys, I'll be playing this. Peace out.
Hey, I'm a shark with a top hat, and I think you should subscribe. Go ahead, hit the button. I'll wait. Okay, bye.